All right, so today's lesson is the equivalent fractions and decimals. So basically, this is taking everything you know about fractions and doing all of it. We are simplifying and we are converting fractions. When you're dealing with decimals, you can only have two denominators. What are they?
10 and 100.
10 and 100. That's it. So, if I have a number like 6/12, 12 is higher than 10.
Yes.
Pretty sure, can I get 12 to fit into exactly 100? No. So, I need to convert and simplify it, which I can take it all the way down to 1/2. Easiest way to tell, if 6 is double, or is half of 12. The top is half of the bottom. So 1/2 can then be converted into a fraction with 10 as its denominator. 5/10. Now I can make it a decimal, 0.5. So I'm having to do a lot of steps on this one. These aren't truly difficult steps, but it's still, it's a bit tedious is the word. So for the next one, 3/12. Again, 12 can't go into 10, can't go into 100. So I'm going to change it. I'm going to simplify it to 1/4. Whenever I see a denominator of 4, I immediately go to quarters. I know quarters. If I have 4 quarters, I have $1. If I have 1 quarter, I have 25 cents. So 25 out of 100 becomes 0.25. So let's try this. For 3/5, I need to make my 3/5 become something over 10. For 5 to become a 10, I did times 2. So 3 times 2 is 6/10. Well, now that can become 0.6. Okay, 2/4. Can I get 4 to become a 10?
No.
Can I get 4 to become a 100?
Yes.
Yes. So 4 becomes a 100 because I have 4 quarters. So that means 2 quarters would be 50. 2 quarters is 50 cents. That becomes 0.5. Now, here's another tip. 2/4 could also be simplified to 1/2, right? No matter what your fraction is, if your fraction can be simplified to 1/2, what decimal represents 1/2? 0.5. So you might get to a point where if you see 6/12, 5/10, 2/4, 3/6, 4/8, 8/16, 7/14, 20/40. All of that equals 0.5. All of that equals 1/2. 1/5 can be turned into 2/10, which can then become 0.2. 3/12 can turn into 1/4, which I then think of quarters. That becomes 25 100ths, which becomes 0.25. 0.25. Again, 2/8. What can I turn that into? That can also become 1/4, which then becomes 25 100ths, which then becomes 0.25. 3/5 will become 6/10, which then can become 0.6. 0.60, yeah. Most of the times, you won't ever see that 0. You'll either see 0.5, which really means that there is a 0 there. But remember, when we're doing decimals, basically, if you've got a decimal written out like that, this is your ones, this is your tens, and this is your hundreds. And really the best way to think about this is in money terms. You're never going to have to work with something that is a denominator of 200 or 300 or 1200. You're never going to have something like that. It will only go up to 100. Because, think about pennies. How many pennies can you have before they change their value, before you stop calling them pennies? 100 pennies. You then have a dollar. So we're never going to have to worry about changing a denominator to anything other than 10 or 100. That's it. That's all we have to worry about. Because if I just have 0.5, that's how I would write it, 0.5. There's nothing after it, but I can imagine that there is a 0. So really 0.5 means 50. Now if I have 53, I can't just do 0.5. I have to write the whole thing. It becomes 53. And then if I have a whole 100 pennies as well, I have an additional dollar. Okay? So only multiples of 10 can be over 10. You will never see 25 over 10. It will only be 2 over 10. If it's 25, it becomes 25 over 100. Okay? But that's it. That's all it is. Just you have to remember, halves are 25. If you have something like 3/4, that can be turned into 75 100ths because 3/4 is 75 cents. 75 100ths becomes 0.75. Okay?